I was having a lot of doubts. I was still selling spiritual sky incense, but I was a brahmachari. And I was, agitated by sexual desire. I was thinking I'm doing the wrong thing. If I have to be a brahmachari, I got to do something that's better for brahmachari life because, it's just not working right for me, I was thinking. And I was really full of doubt, and I knew doubt in my own self, not in Prabhupada, and not in Krishna at that time. But at that time, I had evolved to being a devotee a little bit. I wasn't no longer a Mayavadi, but I was actually trying to be a devotee. But I had understood how and what serious, dilapidated spiritual condition I was in. I was possessed of demoniac qualities and really had a long way to go to cultivate divine qualities. Anyhow, I had all this doubt in my mind. And I was in the Chaitanya Charanamrita class. There was an ecstatic kirtan, and the old Dallas temple was upstairs where they have a hall now. And there was ecstatic kirtan. Radha Kalachandri up at the front. Prabhupada's Vyasa was in the back. And the devotees were just ecstatic. But I was just stuck to the floor with my own self-absorption and my own doubts, and was hoping Prabhupada could relieve me. Somehow maybe if I could catch his eyes or something, he could relieve me of this terrible situation I was feeling. So class came, everybody was sitting down. I must have been 30 or 40 feet from Srila Prabhupada, sitting on the right-hand side of his Vyasasan. And he spoke from a Chaitanya Charanamrita verse, which could be found. It was recorded. But at one point he was speaking about just take shelter of Radha Madana Mohan. I suppose the verse was about Radha Madana Mohan. So when questions and answers came, I thought, well, I'm not going to get a chance any other way to meet with Prabhupada, because generally speaking, they would tell the older devotees would tell the younger devotees, don't bother Prabhupada with your Maya. And Prabhupada's got too much to do, just talk to one of the senior devotees. It's just the same old thing, either sex desire or this problem or that problem. So I didn't try to write a letter, and I tried to see Prabhupada, but it wasn't much opportunity. So I thought I better take the opportunity to ask a question. But at the same time, I didn't want to expose my ignorance, my false ego too much. So I wanted to ask a question, but I was like stuck in suspended animation. I just couldn't get anything out my mouth. But Srila Prabhupada literally turned, like if I was sitting on the Vyasasana here, he literally turned like this and went, yes. And so then I said, and I don't have the script in front of me, I transcribed it from my memory. I said, Srila Prabhupada, what do you mean by just take shelter of Radha Madan Mohan? You mean just take shelter of the deities? And Srila Prabhupada went on to quote that famous verse from the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that Prahlad Maharaj speaks, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padanam, Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. Quoted the whole verse very nicely. And then he spoke, the lotus feet of the Lord are none different from devotional service. So take shelter of any one of these non-processes, at least one of them. Anyhow, the doubt left my heart. I felt pretty secure. I said, I can go home. I don't have to go out and sell incense. I can simply chant Hare Krishna and be a brahmachari. But after a couple of months of doing that, I went out and sold spiritual sky incense. So I hitchhiked back to New Orleans, and Prabhupada was coming here. When he came out to the farm, and instead of doing a morning walk, he did an afternoon walk. It was a little drizzly in the morning, very overcast. Afternoon was a little bit nice, and went for an afternoon walk. On that walk, he was talking about the cows and machinery, and I always had this aspiration to do something like Swarup Damodar and some of the other disciples, where they would play devil's advocate, or Prabhupada would play devil's advocate with him. And I wanted to do that, but I didn't want to be misunderstood because I was just Yogindra, the brahmachari, and I didn't want people to think that, I was arguing with Prabhupada about something. But at the same time, I wanted to play that role of a materialist. And Prabhupada had been talking about the cows and machinery, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to try to do something like that. And it's transcribed. It can be read if one wants to get what was actually said and done. But this is just from my memory. So I took the opportunity to ask Prabhupada a question on that walk. And I said, Srila Prabhupada, you say that the cows are very important and more important than machinery. And I may not have said it like that, but I tried to pose a challenging type of question. And I mentioned that, but the cow, after the cow has done his work, and you have to feed him, you have to care for him, all that is time and labor and expense. Whereas the tractor, we just park it and turn it off. Something like that. And what impressed me was not so much what Prabhupada said, but it was the tone of voice he said it in. And before I try to exemplify that to some extent, let me point out that I'm an American cowboy coming from a Malecha and Yavana background. Prabhupada is a Krishna cowboy. But, I was attracted to him. I took initiation from him. I tried to be his disciple. And so I asked him this question. And now here we are, and that was 1975, 40 years later. Here I am still taking care of cows to a large degree, president on a farm. And at that time, I would have never thought that would have given me that sticking power, but I attribute it to some extent to that. So when I asked that question, I didn't know if Prabhupada was going to get infuriated and say something, you materialistic people. I didn't know how he was going to react. I didn't know if Brahmananda was going to say something or what. But Prabhupada, he turned and he looked at me just like a father. And he said, yes, but the cow is your mother. The bull is your father. And he didn't say exactly like that if you read the transcript, but he did emphasize in the transcript that the cow is your mother. And that love impressed me. That it was more about the soul than just innate matter and what we can do with technology, but there was a person trapped in that body, and that body had been given a dharma, and an important dharma. And we also had been given a dharma, and an important dharma. And Prabhupada was teaching us that. So that was a learning experience for me. For me, this is how it was for me. This is a kind of a subjective thing. I somehow have become attracted to wanting to meet a yogi, a real guru. And therefore I thought maybe I got to really take the chance. I was only 20 years old, and I traveled a little bit around the Southeast, but really hadn't been very far. I thought, well, I got to go to India. I got to go to the Himalayan mountains. I didn't even know if I was going to survive. And all of a sudden, this Hare Krishna movement shows up. I get back to Godhead number 37. There's Prabhupada's pictures. And it was just the picture impressed me, that he looked like a real guru. And when I read his essay, it sounded so genuine that I really thought this is a bona fide spiritual master. And even though back at that time, 1971, I was really in Mayavadi consciousness, but I had some inclination that I'm not the body, I'm the soul. And Prabhupada's heavy preaching about that. You're not the body, you're the soul. That's what I was attracted to. Sense gratification, any old animal can have. But a human being is meant for understanding the absolute truth. Now, I had a long way to go to understand that on the personal level. I was really stuck down in understanding everything is one. We're all eternal. It's all in the Jyoti, in the light. But, person, oh God, I had left behind with my Christian background because I just never, I guess I didn't feel satisfied and had lost my faith to some degree for various reasons. And so Prabhupada, he didn't only help me understand my soul, which was something I never could understand through Christianity. Not that there was any fault of theirs, but it never clicked with me understanding my soul. I could never really figure it out, difference between body, mind, and soul. Prabhupada helped me do that. But then later, he also helped me regain my faith in God and the personality of God just through reading his teachings. At first, when I first started to figure it out, that what it really meant, I was a little bit dismayed because I felt, wow, personal God, here I am, servant of God, and really I'm more of a demon than a devotee. So I said, I look at all the other devotees, and I just felt somewhat dismayed because I felt that, I didn't have a lot to contribute. I really wanted to take, and here I am. I have to try to be more in the mode of goodness and shape myself up, and it looked like such a massive job. Sometimes I'd get depressed thinking about it. But Prabhupada, through his teachings and books, it really helped me to become a devotee again. And when I say again, I was somewhat of a believer in God and had a little bit of faith, but I never really knew who God was until Prabhupada came and taught us Krishna consciousness. Je anilo